With one of the crazy seasons we've had in a long time, it's no surprise that so many people are struggling to hit Unreal rank. But today, I'm going to break down absolutely everything you need to know, from drop spots to surviving in mid-game and even some top tier secrets for the lower ranks all the way up to champion, as someone who knows all the ins and outs behind the rank system. But before we get into the tips, let's talk about the changes they made to rank this season. From my knowledge, this is actually the season they have made the smallest amount of changes. They actually made very little changes in the sense it seems like you tend to gain a lot less points for wins this season. I've been dropping like 13-15 kill wins throughout the season and only gaining like 50-60% points. And I think that was particularly more noticeable during those lower ranks like platinum and diamond and stuff, because I was getting near enough whole rank ups last season. So they definitely altered that a bit, but apart from that, it seems to be the only change we've had as far as I'm aware. But if you actually want to know everything about the rank system, like the ins and outs, everything about how it truly works and how you gain points, I did make a full video breaking down that, and I'll leave an end screen for that at the end if any of you are interested in watching it. But first of all, we're going to start at one of the most important parts of ranking up, and this is drop spots. Without surviving off spawn, all you're going to do is lose loads of points. So it is important that we can absolutely nail off spawns. And this is the subject I get asked the most questions in regards to hitting Unreal rank. I get questions like, should I land at a POI? Should I land somewhere more low-key when I'm in higher ranks? What should I do in lower ranks? And I'm going to explain all that right now. First of all, for those of you that are in diamond rank or under, I 100% without a doubt recommend you find one solid drop spot that you really like. It can literally be any drop spot on the map. A lot of people ask about smaller POIs and stuff like that. I just think it kind of ruins the fun a little bit. I tend to like to land at a POI. If you can find a smaller drop spot that you don't mind landing at, I don't see why it's not a problem landing at it, but I just think it's better to land at a POI where you can at least pick up 1 to 3 kills minimum off spawn, just so you can get them rank points back, and often you're going to come out with some good mats and some good loot to fuel you up for the mid game. Once you find a place that suits your playstyle, only land there. If you are struggling and you can't find a place, don't worry too much, because I am going to bring out a full drop spot guide where I've literally landed at every drop spot on the map, and I'm going to give the best 5 drop spots in the game away to you for free. So make sure you subscribe with notification bells on. I'm going to break down all the playstyles and everything, so don't miss that one, because it is actually going to be a crazy good video for any of you looking for a spot. In the lower ranks, I recommend you nail on your drop spot, as this is super important, as when you get to them high ranks, I recommend you do not switch up your spot. I think the most important thing for ranked is to have fun. Don't get me wrong, if you're elite and above and your only goal is to get to Unreal rank, land low key and play for in-game kills. But realistically speaking, that would bore the hell out of me, and I'm sure many of you would also be super bored as well. So my best tip is to find a drop you're good at and only land there. If you're elite and above right now thinking, oh shoot, I literally don't even have a spot, the sooner you can master a spot, the easier it's going to be to get yourself to Unreal rank. Because once you have them solid drop spot foundations in place, it's super hard to be losing points. Next up, moving on to fighting in the off spawn. I think it wouldn't be right for me to talk about drop spots, then not talk about fighting, as this is just a completely different board when it comes to Fortnite. So it is important we can master this. Number 1, land where the most loot is. This might sound a bit weird, but it's 99% of the time it's worth landing at the main building. If there's more chests there, or there's more loot spawns, whatever it is, potentially risking a fight in the first few seconds to get yourself guaranteed more chests or more loot is 100% worth it. It's going to guarantee you an advantage before the main POI fights start, just overall making it 100 times easier to win your drop. Number 2, master your drop. What I mean by this is master the distance it takes from your glider to the spot that you want to land. This tends to come with experience over time and landing at a spot, which is why I say land it non-stop. But if you want to master this quicker, you can even make drop spots. There's plenty of videos out there which teach you how to do it, but if I make a full spawn guide at one point, I'll break down how I personally make them as someone that used to make them for other players. Number 3, find the most optimal loot route. If you're really interested in a spot that much, it's worth going to some cash cup games in high elo and watch pro players that land at your spot and see what route they follow. This often tends to be the best and most optimal loot route, as these are made by pro coaches finding them the best and quickest way to loot spot. And now we got over the 3 most important things to make sure you're winning. Let's break down the 3 advantages you can get in off spawn, from most to least important. Number 1, health. The more health you have, the easier it's going to be to win a fight. You can have the best loot in the game, but without having health, you're going to die. If we really strip Fortnite back to basics and the very, very basics of fighting, the goal of each fight is to deal more damage to your opponent than they deal to you. So having that extra 50 shield or 100 shield over your opponent can often be the difference between you destroying the opponent and you dying to him. Number 2, loot. Once we have optimal health, it's important we have the tools to help us win. Having things like a blue shotgun can be the difference between you winning and losing. That extra 20 to 30 damage, especially off spawn between the green to the blue shotgun, could be all the difference you need to make sure you win. This is why it's super important that we make sure we can open as many chests as we can to get loot and shields. And number 3, finally, the 3rd advantage is height. Having a spot with natural high ground often gives you a mass advantage off spawn and allows you to scan over your drop spot, making it much harder for your enemy to sneak up on you. But it also makes it easier for you to get that first shot, and that is super important for ensuring we can get the most important advantage of them all, which is health. You can see how these all link back now. So what should we do with these 3 tips in mind to ensure we can maximize our chances of winning our spawn? First of all, we need to ensure we're opening as many chests. Like I said before, I mentioned this over and over again because it's super important you understand. Probably the most important thing of spawn is to open more chests than your opponent opens. This is going to give you the biggest advantage, full stop. Next up, ensure you get yourself enough mats early on or land at higher points your POI. This will give you the high ground. If you land at a house that is slightly higher than the rest of the houses, you're automatically going to get hype when you go to the roof. But if you just land at one building that is just a flat one building, make sure you're getting yourself some mats, so if you do get in a fight, you can quickly build up and get that high ground. Now we're consistently winning your spawn, let's talk about the mid game. It feels like every single season I'm saying how different mid game is this season compared to the last. But with all the chaotic crazy stuff currently in ranked this season, it's 100% something I haven't witnessed in a couple of years of Fortnite. But of course, like always, we have adapted and I'm going to give you guys my best advice for winning the mid game. In regards to low ranks, if you're diamond or under, my number 1 tip if you're struggling with mid game is to play a ton of 1v1s. You don't need to go crazy and play 1,000 rounds of 1v1 a day just because I said that, but at least take a little bit of your time each day to devote some to improving your fighting. This will 100x your skill super quickly. I think the main thing that sort of separates the lower from the higher ranked players tends to be things like aim, game sense, and just overall fighting ability. So instead of playing ranked for an hour where you'll fight maybe 20 fights for that hour, it's more beneficial for you to play 100 to 200 1v1s in that hour, where you're going to get a lot more fighting experience and learn a lot more in a short amount of time. And this is going to improve your rank much quicker, especially in the long term. If you don't play the 1v1s, you might be stuck in diamond, where if you do play the 1v1s, you might even be able to hit elite champion in a few days. So it's 100% worth it, especially if you're looking to rank up. For those of you elite and champion rank, most of you already tend to have the fighting skill to be able to make it to Unreal. So my best advice is to keep being patient with it and work on them individual mistakes. Especially in your fighting and your off spawns and stuff, just try and patch little things up. And that 1% better is going to make all the difference. Go back and watch your replays, see what you're doing wrong in your fights, because the thing that tends to stop people in them higher ranks hitting Unreal tends to be one problem, like bad aim or awful early games, etc. And until you can find that problem that's holding you back, it's going to be super hard for you to improve. Now we've talked about the mid game, let's talk about loadouts for ranked. As of right now, from what I've seen, the best loadout to carry is number 1, Ride the Lightning Guitar. This just It's not like necessarily broken in a damage way, but it's kind of broken in the sense that you can literally escape from any fight. So without having one of these, you're missing out massively when it comes to finding and also escaping bad situations. So if you're not carrying one, make sure you start. Then in your second slot, you preferably want to get a shotgun. Any shotgun that you prefer, the shotgun of your choice, whatever that can be. I've been really liking the hammer for mid game and end game especially, as I seem to be hitting some really good damage with it. But I've also been ripping people up with that combat off spawn. So find what you like and just run with that. Then you want the burst SMG. This is the best SMG in game. It shreds through builds, it does a ton of damage, and every pro player is running it. But if you can't find the burst, the normal SMG does the job. Followed by 2 sets of meds. And this is the loadout all the pros are currently carrying, so I definitely recommend you stick with that, or as similar as you can, because it's just going to give you the best advantage when it comes to them fights. And now, moving on to number 3, the end game. At the moment, end games are just super chaotic with that Ride the Lightning, all the stuff in the game. With all this stuff just being absolutely everywhere in ranked, I've always kind of found it hard to give endgame advice when it comes to ranked games, as they are so situational, based on zones, based on players. 1 minute you can have an endgame with like 7 players, the next minute you've got an endgame with like 15 people and everyone's spamming the Ride the Lightning. So it tends to be quite hard for me to give you individual specific tips like I can with early game. But what I will say is make sure you're rotating to zones early. Don't shy away from kills as well. If there is going to be the one time in the match you're going to be fragging like there is no tomorrow, make it the end game. This is where you're going to be rewarded maximum points for getting them kills. So make sure you're using and abusing the points that you're getting for making it to that end game and looking to pick up as many kills as you can. Anyways, leave any questions you still have down below, as I'm going to respond to all comments, and please subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already, check out this ranked video. I break down the whole ranked system and it's just super good video. You guys loved it and it will help you out so much on your goal to Unreal rank.